Hi everybody and welcome to Making Things with String. My name is Kate and this is my crafty YouTube channel where I talk about the various things that I like to make with string and some other crafts sometimes as well. Thank you for joining me for a chat today. Happy New Year, everybody. Today is January 2nd, so New Year's just happened. And, the Christmas holidays are soon to be over. I'm going back to work again tomorrow. I'm just filming a little bit of a Flosstube Plus video here, my sort of regular, approximately every 2-week update on what I've been working on and what I've made progress on. This feels a little bit weird because I am still coming off of having done Vlogmas in December. So if you didn't check that out or didn't see it, I recorded a video every day in December leading up to the 25th. And so it feels weird to be doing like a regular video, and it feels weird to be doing a video again after taking a break since Boxing Day technically is the last time I shot a video. So I just wanted to take a second to say thank you again to everybody who did watch those Vlogmas videos with me. The view count is a little bit lower overall than a regular Flosstube video, but there were definitely people who I knew were watching every day, and some people as well who were commenting every day. That really meant a lot to me. It made the whole month so fun, and I really appreciate that. So I just wanted to say thank you again. To all of you who hung out with me in December and made it a really special month. I had so much fun doing it. On a related sort of shout out note, I have said that I would like to do a Flosstube shout out in each one of my Flosstube videos going forward. So my little shout out today is going to be for Leah of Rhubarb Patch Studio. So Rhubarb Patch Studio is her YouTube channel where she does some Flosstube videos, and she's also Rhubarb Patch Studio on Instagram as well. And so I really enjoy her videos for a number of reasons. First of all, I find that the projects that she's working on, a lot of them are really unique and pieces that I have not seen before. So that's cool to see. It's great when people are all stitching similar things, and I mean that makes sense that it happens because one person starts stitching something and that catches on. So lots of people end up stitching the same things, but it is cool that a lot of her pieces are unique and I don't see other people stitching them, so that's very cool. She also does a lot of interesting sort of color modifications on her patterns that I find really interesting and inspiring to see sort of what she does, how she changes things up, and it gives me a lot of sort of courage to do similar things maybe when I'm stitching stuff. But most importantly, I really love watching Leah's videos because of the vibe, just the vibe in general of her channel. She has a very calming presence and just a really great chill vibe. I feel relaxed watching her, and I really appreciate her videos. So if you don't already follow her videos, I would recommend checking them out. She'll be linked down below in the video description here. That's my sort of Flosstube shout out for today's video. All right, so first thing that I would like to talk about today is some cross-stitch finishes since my last Flosstube video. These are going to be a little repetitive for you if you were following along in Vlogmas, but I haven't shown them on Flosstube videos yet, so I'm going to do that. The first thing that I want to show is my holiday countdown stitch along, Holiday Countdown SAL, which was a collaboration between Modern Folk Embroidery, Evertote, and Leo and Roxy Flossco, or Roxy Flossco is the new branding for them. And this was sort of a holiday countdown / Advent style cross stitch pattern Some people got a full box with a packet to open every day and some floss from Roxy Floss Co. to go along with that. But there's, a little piece of the pattern every single day that you stitched. I just got the pattern, so I chose my own DMC colors and stitched the pattern along with everybody. You can check out the hashtag Countdown Sal on Instagram if you want to see everybody's works. But I will insert a clip here of what that finished piece looks like, and you can see sort of how that went. So it's a Frisian band sampler, and every day we stitched one color essentially. Some days there were repeat colors, like a few stitches of a repeat color from a previous day, but there was always one new color. And so you can see here in this top band, the first thing we stitched was the super dark green section on day 1, and day 2 was the pink. So that just as an example. But yeah, here's what the finished piece looks like, and I stitched this whole thing in December, so I'm really proud of it. I haven't fully finished it yet. I'm not entirely sure how I will fully finish it. Probably just a frame, although it might make a cute little pillow. Let me know if you have ideas for how to finish this in the comments, but really proud of this. I loved that Countdown Sal, and I will definitely be doing it again this year when they release it. Still yet to be determined whether I want to buy the actual floss day by day pack, or if they offer the PDF version again, I might just do that again. It was so affordable to just do the PDF. It was like $20 or something Canadian, maybe 25, something like that. So it was super affordable. And I think it turned out okay choosing my own colors. Although next time, I think what I will do is not choose 25 separate colors. I might just choose a smaller subset and sort of repeat colors. I think this looks cool, but it's like a little crazy and random for my tastes. So, but I will always, love this piece because it's the first ever stitch along that I have done, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun engaging with everybody on Instagram, sharing their progress, and it felt really nice. So that is the first finished object that I wanted to talk about. The next finish that I have is something that you have seen before, and this piece is actually fully finished now, and it's no longer with me, so I'm going to have to put a picture of it up here. This is my geometric turtle piece by Ritakuna, and this is something that I started at the end of September, on the last day of September, or the 29th of September, and finished frantically in December leading up to Christmas, because this was a Christmas gift from my mother, who loves turtles, who loves sea turtles. She actually has a tattoo of a sea turtle. Her and I went to get tattoos together at the same time. I got my Neuron tattoo, and she got this Polynesian style turtle tattoo. And so I saw this geometric turtle pattern, thought of her immediately. I've stitched these geometric style patterns from Ritakuna before several times, and I really enjoy stitching them. They're a lot of fun. So yeah, I wanted to make it for her. However, this particular pattern is quite a bit bigger than any of the other geometric patterns that I've stitched by Ritakuna previously. So I was really worried for a while that I wasn't going to get it done in time for Christmas, but I did. And yeah, I think it looks great. I picked out a frame from Michael's, and I framed it myself. I just used some foam board and sort of pinned the piece around, and gently taped the extra fabric around the back, and I removed the glass from the frame. I personally like the way that cross stitch looks framed without glass, and because of the way that I mounted the cross stitch piece, there really wasn't room for glass in the frame. So the way that I did it with the glass removed, I was able to put the backing you know, the backing on top and cover the taped up extra fabric. So I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and my mom was really pleased. But something kind of funny happened. So we were exchanging gifts, and everybody was kind of opening their gifts, and my mom hadn't quite opened her geometric turtle cross stitch piece yet that was sort of sitting on the chair next to her. But I opened this mug. Hopefully you can see it. This is a gift to me from my mother, and it is a turtle, and it looks, I wish you could see it a little bit better. I might insert a photo of it, but this, I've got some Earl Grey tea in here. This is a really beautiful indigenous art design, but it's a turtle, and it looks it looks so similar to the geometric turtle, like the layout of the piece and just like the how it's like sectioned into different sections. And anyways, it made me laugh. So I opened it and I said, I love this, but you need to open that gift beside you right now because this is hilarious. And she says that she hadn't seen any of my Vlogmas videos, and I do believe that because I wasn't posting them on Facebook intentionally because I knew that Mom would see videos that I posted if I linked them on Facebook, but probably wouldn't if I just posted them to YouTube. And I was right. So anyways, I just thought that was a funny little coincidence, kind of demonstrative of some serendipity there, and like just how we kind of know each other and like the same things or similar things. Speaking of that, another gift that Mom got me was a diamond painting piece. So let's see how this shows up. I'll also be able to put some footage in maybe. It's actually showing up all right. So it's a diamond painting piece that is on a hard canvas. I've never done diamond painting before, but I've wanted to try it. And I don't know if it's going to be easy to see, but it's not like a full coverage diamond painting piece, which is what I've seen before. But there's sort of like this background done with little lines of diamonds. And so it seems to me like a really great first diamond painting to give it a try. And I really like the picture. It's a really cool looking, very colorful owl. I'm gonna enjoy having this as a finished piece when I'm done painting it. And so, you know, that's something, I have looked at diamond painting kits before at Michael's and stuff and just never bought one because I wasn't super into the particular designs or patterns that were there, you know, like I'm sure that I would have a good time doing the diamond painting, but for me, in the end, if I'm not going to be putting it up afterwards, or if I don't have somebody who I think I could gift it to, then there isn't a whole lot of point in making the piece or buying it and spending all that time doing it. So I really, really enjoy that because I love the picture. I think it's a good starter piece because it's not like this huge full coverage thing. Yeah, and I really like it. So, you know, two really cool gifts from my mom that I love. So yes, we went to visit my mom and my dad a few days after Christmas, and I thought I would just insert some clips and photos here of some cross stitch pieces that are hanging in my mom's house or that are in my mom's house. Not all of them are hanging. You'll see there's some pillows and stuff too. And this is, you know, it's partly to kind of brag a little bit about my mom because I think that they are beautiful pieces, but it's also just to show sort of that my love of crafting, you know, I come by it naturally and or honestly, is that what they say? And yeah, I mean, it kind of it really means a lot to me that my crafting hobby and my love of crafting is something that I got from my mom. I also think a lot about my grandmother, my dad's mom, who was a big knitter, and she did a lot of rug hooking, and so when I craft, I do think about a about both of them. And so, yeah, I thought I would show some of the pieces that my mom did. There's these, there's a lot of cute pieces. I'm sure I'm showing them, but one in particular that I thought was really neat that I hadn't seen in a while was this sort of welcome piece that she did. And I found it really interesting the way that she finished it. So she finished the piece, she bought a pillow, this sort of like velvet looking pillow, and she folded in her cross-stitch piece and stitched it on to the pillow in such a way that it looks really nice. And I like that finish because I think that finishing cross-stitch pieces on pillows or as pillows is really popular. And I have a sewing machine now, so it's actually very simple and easy for me to do those kinds of finishes now. But not everybody has a sewing machine, and so I thought this was like a clever way to make a cross-stitch pillow finish without, if you don't want to actually make a pillow, and if you just have like hand stitching as an option. So I just thought that was really clever the way she did that. All right. So yeah, it was a really great visit. We had a good time, and I enjoyed kind of perusing through Mom's house and looking at sort of the cross-stitch pieces that she has there that I remember her making when I was young. All right, so now I'm going to go over all my cross-stitch works in progress that I have worked on since we last spoke, and there is kind of a lot more than usual, and definitely more than each of my videos in December. So in each of my videos in December, I was showing my countdown SAL progress and my turtle progress, and those are the only two projects I worked on through December. So finishing those felt really great, and starting to work on other projects again felt really great too. But the main thing that I did is on New Year's Eve, I took part in the New Year's Eve 12 by 12 cross-stitch challenge thing that was hosted by Kia B and Pam from Just Keep Stitching. So the idea with the 12 by 12 is that on New Year's Eve day, you start at noon and either start a new project every hour until midnight, or work on an existing work in progress every hour until midnight, or some combination thereof, or adjusted however you need. So at the time of the 12 by 12 on New Year's Eve day, I had 6 active works in progress. So I knew I didn't want to start 6 new projects and work on all of those 12 things for only 1 hour each. To me, that would be just like stressful and not enough stitching time and not enough time for breaks and other things. So what I did was I did a 6 by 2 by 12. So I worked on each of my 6 works in progress for 2 hours. So starting at noon until 2, I worked on one project, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, etc. So I'm going to show you sort of the progress that I made on each of those works in progress. So the first thing that I worked on was my Twilight Imperium 4 Nebula piece. This is really exciting. I started with this one because it's on black Aida. And I figured that if I waited to do this until later on in the evening, that I wouldn't be able to see what I was doing, and it would just be really difficult on my eyes. But it was also a really good way to start the day, because I hadn't worked on the nebula in such a long time. It's sort of my oldest WIP, I think, and yeah, I hadn't worked on it in forever. So it was really, really cool to pick that up again. So I have a picture of what it looked like right before I started, and a picture of what it looked like after I was done. And yeah, it was really, really fun to pick this back up. I managed to put in 169 stitches in that 2-hour period into my nebula piece. So yeah, excited about that, excited to get going on that again. It was really great because I didn't have everything set up to get going stitching on this. It had been so long, and I sort of like pillaged some floss from its project bag to use on other things, and I had been using OneNote on my laptop to mark up the pattern, and I just wasn't like enjoying that process, and so I ported the PDF over to GoodNotes on my iPad, which I have been using a lot for other stitching charts, and I created one of my little cue cards for the threads in the project. So this is kind of the way that I am now stitching on projects, and so this is all kind of ready to go now, and it's ready to stitch on again, and my momentum is back up for stitching on this. So that was sort of one of the best things about doing WIPs for 12 by 12, is that it sort of really rejuvenated my interest in stitching all of these WIPs that I have, some of which I hadn't worked on for a long time before that. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I was proud of, you know, the progress that I made, and I kind of wanted to just keep stitching on this, but I didn't. I put it down and I picked up Needs No Paint. So Needs No Paint is a chart by Heaven and Earth Designs, and the art is by Jill Clare, and it's this really beautiful sort of watercolor horse painting. It's my only current Heaven and Earth design stitch, and it's the first one by them that I've ever stitched, and it's my first full coverage. Did I say that? It's my first full coverage piece anyways, whether I said it or not. And I really love this piece. So here's how it looks now after stitching on it. So I stitched on this from 2 to 4 p.m. on New Year's Eve day, and I managed about 198 stitches, which is really good. Most of that was some DMC 310 up in this top sort of main section. So it was a lot. It was a lot of just like the same stitch, which made it go pretty fast. And also this piece is being stitched in 10 stitch. So it's only half stitches, so that's another reason that it went pretty quick. But yeah, this is something that I had been working on pretty consistently before December, and I'm excited to get back to working on this regularly and trying to make some progress. So that piece is now at 19.01% done, so I'm almost 20% done. That piece, I'm so excited. So the third piece that I worked on New Year's Eve day was Ragnarok by Long Dog Samplers. This is something that I started in December. I worked on it once during my Vlogmas videos. You'll see sort of one update about Ragnarok then. And yeah, I bought this piece in September 2022, looking to do it for Sampler September or start it for Sampler September, but that didn't work out. So I started it in December, and so I've got, you know, my before picture from, you know, where I was before New Year's Eve day, and I have a picture as well from where I got to during the 12 by 12, and on this piece I managed 174 stitches in the 2 hours. I'm stitching this on a DMC brand even weave. It is, I can't remember the count of the fabric. I'll put that on the screen, and I'm stitching it with a variegated DMC thread. It's DMC 115. So yeah, I think it looks really cool, but I am kind of worried. This is my first time stitching with variegated thread, and I'm worried about how it's gonna look if I start stitching up against like contrasting colors, because the variegation is really slow in this. Anyways, I don't know if anybody who wants to give me tips or console me or confirm my fears, but I feel like, so for example, in this section here, sections like this where it's like a hard line where I've been doing my 10 by 10, you know, stopping there. If I come back over here and I have some really dark thread, is that going to look totally weird or is it going to look cool? So not sure, but yeah, this is a really fun piece. I'm so excited to have this finished, and the count of the fabric is really small, and I'm stitching 1/1, and so this is sort of the first time that I've ever stitched so tiny. I really like it. It's looking cool. It's going to take a million years to finish, but it's a lot of fun to stitch, and it's nice and easy because it's only one color thread. So yeah, enjoying it. Not much to show right now, but it is actually quite a bit of work that's been put into this. The next piece that I worked on is 1/2 of the Two Quaker Sisters sampler by Modern Folk Embroidery. This is the sampler that I stitched on and started in September for Sampler September. I am stitching this on some fabric from Roxy Flossco that I got from Evertote. I believe it's called Under the Shade, and I believe it's 32 or 36 count. Don't remember, we'll have to check on that. But it's a beautiful sort of green fabric, and I'm stitching this with 2 Roxy Flossco floss colors, Butterscotch and Kernel Mustard, I believe. Definitely Kernel Mustard is one of them. So I'll show you a picture of where that was before New Year's Eve day, and a little picture of the progress that I made. I don't have this pattern in Pattern Keeper or a digital pattern, so I don't know exactly how many stitches I put into it, but it was approximately 120 stitches. And so yeah, a little bit fewer stitches on this than other things. I think part of the reason for that is that we were watching a movie at the same time as I was stitching this one. So we were watching Glass Onion, which I thought was pretty great, like quite funny. Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't make as much progress on this as I did on some other things. But it did still sort of rejuvenate my passion for this piece. It's so beautiful, and I'm over halfway done, so I want to get this finished and framed for our house soon. Love this piece. In case I didn't say, in the center it says, "For I am thine and thou art mine." It's a really beautiful piece. So the next thing that I worked on is my beach triptych. This is another piece that I hadn't worked on for quite a long time. So it was good to get this going again because I'm sort of 2/3 of the way done this piece. These are 3 little patterns from a booklet that I got from the World of Cross Stitching magazine. And yeah, I finished the first 2 and had a little bit done on the 3rd panel. And so, yeah, I'll show you, the photo of what that previous progress looked like, and then I'll show you an image of how far I got during my 12 by 12 progress. And again, this is an estimate, but I got about 160 stitches done on this. A lot more sand, essentially. But yeah, the sand, the sort of main sand color is pretty much done now. There's some sort of seashells and stuff in the sand that I have to stitch. And then there's sort of some water with boats, and it's like a little fishing village scene. So excited to get going on that again. This should be a pretty quick finish. So I'm excited to get going on it again and finish it up. Yeah, and one of the reasons that you can kind of see my progression going from sort of smaller count, more fiddly projects into bigger pieces. Like I'm pretty sure that this is on 14 count, sort of oatmeal Ada, because I figured later in the evening it would be darker and we would be watching movies together, my husband and I, so I kept the sort of simpler, bigger pieces until later, and that was a good idea. That was smart. So yeah, that's my beach triptych progress. All right, and the very last piece that I worked on from 10 p.m. until midnight is the Stranger Things parody chart that I got from Backstitch Optional on Etsy, which is my friend Lisa's Etsy shop. So yeah, I had Hopper already complete, and then I had stitched most of the cross stitch stuff for Joyce already. So she was missing her little bandana and all the back stitching. So yeah, you can see that I just basically finished off Joyce. I actually, did that in about an hour and a half. So I had 20 to 30 minutes left until midnight when I finished her. And I just decided at that point, you know what, you've been stitching for almost 12 hours and this is a good place to stop. She's sort of complete. So I decided instead of continuing on to the next character that I would just stop there. But yeah, so that was great to get back to that as well. Looking forward to trying to put another one of those figures in, sort of maybe once a month or something like that. So that was my 12 by 12 progress. So I do have two other things to show you. I have my New Year New Start, which is something that I talked about in my Vlogmas videos, and that is the Reaching Skyward Modern Folk Embroidery 2023 Stitch Along. So I had so much fun with the Holiday Countdown SAL that I decided to spend some of my Christmas money on some fabric, some Roxy Floss Co. floss, and this chart. And I also bought the Alternative Trees chart because I wanted to stitch one of the alternative trees. And so, yeah, I decided to go with, I ordered from Evertote a 20 count porcelain Ada. So this is Roxy Floss Co. dyed Ada. I had a bit of a hard time deciding for sure to start on this piece of fabric, however, because when I was sort of measuring things out and double checking before getting started, I realized that the Ada cuts are like a little bit less long than I thought. And I only have about an inch, like a little less than an inch margin on the top and bottom of the piece. So, I was looking around at other pieces of fabric that I have. I had this 32 count Zweigart Belfast linen in natural that I thought would also work. And so I kind of put it out there on Instagram to see what people thought, and on my Facebook as well. And I got various different opinions. Some people preferred the porcelain Ada, some people preferred the linen. But when it came down to it, I was actually ready to start on the linen. But then I kind of reconsidered, because what I realized was on the 20 count Ada, I was going to be stitching one strand of floss over one fabric thread. But if I were to stitch on 32 count, I'd be stitching over two fabric threads, and therefore I would want to stitch two strands of floss. So I didn't have enough floss to do it over two on the 32 count. And in addition to that, another thing I realized was that even though I would have a 1.5 inch border or margin around the piece on the Belfast linen, that's still not very much. And the porcelain Ada has 3 inches on either side. So it's only 2 of the margins that are small-ish. So I decided to go with the porcelain. I'm glad about that. I'm enjoying stitching on this Ada. It's nice, sort of soft-ish Ada, not as soft as my Fiber on a Whim Ada, but it's pretty soft still. And I'm really enjoying how the stitches are coming out. So hopefully you're seeing some sort of footage or pictures of the progress that I've made so far on it. This is just going to be an amazing, stunning piece. The stitch along, so the pattern is all there in the chart for the whole year, but he sort of chunked it up into monthly sections, and so that is how I'm going to be stitching it. I'm going to stitch all the January stuff in January, etc. He mentioned that each of those monthly sections is somewhere around 4,000 stitches, which if you do the math is about 133 stitches per day that I would need to do to keep up with it. So yesterday I actually did 300 stitches on January 1st, and that's because I stayed up after midnight for 2 hours and did some stitching, and then I also had another little stitching session in the morning. So I was sort of ahead of the game already. And so yeah, I'm just going to need to kind of keep track of how many stitches I'm doing per day to make sure that I'm trying to at least stay on par with 133 stitches, which I think I should be able to do, or when I can, get ahead of it. And that will allow me to, you know, spend some time stitching on other things during the month. So really, really excited about this. The colorways that I chose, so this Ada is 20 count porcelain Ada by Roxy Flossco, and I also chose 2 Roxy Flossco flosses. I've got Brass Tacks, which is a one-of-a-kind colorway, and I've got the Whiz, which is this sort of really beautiful, rich tealy green. It's very deep, and I love it. It's beautiful, beautiful color. So that's what I'm doing. And this pattern is really interesting because not only, I mentioned the sort of alternate trees, you can get a separate chart to swap out the tree in the middle of the chart, but within the pattern itself, he's got sort of 2 different options for many of the different sections of the piece. And so everybody's piece is going to end up looking a little bit different and unique based on the particular combinations that they've used. So far I have stuck with the sort of front cover version. I like the borders on the front cover version of the chart. So yeah, but I'll let you know going forward if I decide to swap it out for one of the alternate versions. Cool. So just really, really excited about this. I love Modern Folk Embroidery, and I'm really enjoying these stitch alongs as well. So it's really, really fun to sort of follow along with other people and see the different colors that they're choosing and the different methods that they're using for stitching and how far along they're getting and that kind of thing. So, and this is just a beautiful chart, and I love trees. Like, I've got a tattoo of a tree on my arm, and you know, there's this beautiful write-up in the chart about all of the different sort of lore associated with trees that sort of transcends many different cultures. And so, you know, they're just like a really meaningful symbol, and for me especially. And so yeah, the chart's beautiful, and I'm really excited to be stitching it. All right, so I have one more new cross stitch start, and this is pretty exciting for me because this new start is related to my WIPGO board. So if you're unaware, WIPGO is a sort of year-long cross stitch challenge. It's initiated by Jessie Marie Does Stuff. And so you can check out her YouTube channel if you want to learn more about the details of WIPGO. But the idea is it's like bingo, but for your cross stitch projects. So there's a 5x5 grid, and instead of like the bingo numbers being placed in there, you place different projects that you want to work on in there, or you might place different themes like Christmas, different types of things that you could stitch. And then every month, Jessie draws 2 numbers, and those are your projects or things that you're going to need to work on that month. And you're also supposed to set a goal for each of the squares too. So some project or theme or way to choose something to work on, and then a goal for how much you should get done on that piece. So, you know, I only have 7 whips before starting this WIPGO thing. And so I was, you know, I've always kind of thought that WIPGO isn't really something that I was super interested in because I don't have a whole ton of whips. It's not hard for me to, you know, manage working on my whips on my own. And I kind of like just stitching on whatever I feel like at that moment. So I kind of, you know, never really saw the appeal of WIPGO or didn't think that I wanted to do it. However, lots of people are talking about WIPGO right now. And it occurred to me as well, sort of in a separate thought, that I have that book of baubles from the Jingle Ball that has a whole bunch of Christmas ornaments in it. And I don't have any stitched pieces for my Christmas tree, and those kinds of things actually make really nice gifts for Christmas as well. But as crafters know, those weeks and months leading up to Christmas, you just never end up having time to stitch all the things. So I thought, wouldn't it be a good idea to stitch some ornaments like throughout the year, maybe one a month or something like that, and then I end up with like 12 ornaments at the end of the year. Some of them I can give away, some of them I can keep for myself, and I have a whole bunch of ornament patterns from that Baubles book that I want to stitch. So then I sort of put the two thoughts together and figured I can do WIPGO for these Jingle Ball baubles. So that's what I did. I set up a WIPGO board, and I picked 12 ornament patterns that I want to do. So each of them is on my WIPGO board twice, and then there's a free space in the center that when that gets drawn, I won't have to do anything for it. And then so the idea is every month 2 numbers are going to get drawn. I'm going to either start that ornament if I haven't started it yet, if that's the first time it's been called, and I'm going to stitch half of it. Or if it's the second time that it's been called, I finish the ornament. And so, yeah, that's how I'm going to do it. So that means I'm going to stitch 2 half ornaments every month, which means I should end up with 12 ornaments stitched by the end of the year. If I stick with it, who knows? It's my first time trying WIPGO, so we'll see how it goes. But this morning I got up, so WIPGO numbers for this month are 6 and 10. So that works out to the Nordic Nutcracker, which is a pattern that I love and I can't wait to stitch. And I don't know if you can see behind me, there's a couple little nutcrackers here, and I have more. It's the thing that my parents get me is like I always get a nutcracker for Christmas, or that for the last few years it's been the case. And so I'm kind of embracing that. I love them. They're sort of my quirky little thing. My mom gets snowmen, and somebody bestowed that upon her once upon a time, and so I get nutcrackers, and so I'm excited to stitch the nutcracker. That's not the one I started with though. The one I started with is called Tall Treat by the Blue Flower. And this is just an amazing little ornament. It is a giraffe wearing a Christmas sweater holding a giant candy cane. So hopefully I've got some footage of my little start on that piece. It's so I did all of this morning. It's so quick and it is so cute. I love it. I love it so much. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not quite halfway done it yet, so I can't stop here for the month. But yeah, I'm sure that I will be stitching on this again. I want to get my Modern Folk Embroidery 2023 SAL stitches in, but then I might pick this back up after that. It's so cute. So I'm stitching it just with the called for DMC, except the 2 green DMC colors I didn't have, so I swapped those out for similar ones that I did have, and I am stitching this on my 32 count Zweigart Belfast linen, and it's natural colorway, I believe. And yeah, just like a cute tiny little ornament piece. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I'm gonna have so many ornaments. All right, so that's it for cross stitch updates. I do have some knitting stuff to talk about really quickly before I go. So I have done a little bit of knitting. December was almost entirely cross stitch on those 2 pieces that I was working on. I did like 1 dishcloth, I think. So there hasn't been a whole lot of knitting progress, but I do have an update on my socks that I was knitting. So I finished 1 sock. This is, I don't have a name for this pattern. It's just sort of one that I made up, but it's got a little bit of ribbing down either side of the leg and the foot. Otherwise, it's a pretty vanilla sock just with 2x2 ribbing and a heel flap and gusset. And the yarn is this beautiful green and gray colorway that I don't know. I don't know the source of the yarn, unfortunately, but I've got 1 full sock done now, and I have started the 2nd sock while I was playing Twilight Imperium yesterday. and I got this much done in that amount of time while I was strategizing in a game of space politics. Yeah, I was saying to Neil earlier that it's unfortunate that, so knitting is something I can definitely do while I'm playing board games, but I can't really cross stitch, especially on a full coverage piece like my Nebula while I'm playing board games, because otherwise it would be sort of perfect to just cross stitch on the Nebula while I'm playing Twilight Imperium. But it's not really something that I can do. However, what I think I will do is, starting later this month, or soon anyway, Space Cats Peace Turtles has a annual Patreon tournament for Twilight Imperium 4, and that gets streamed, and I love crafting while watching those games. So I plan to stitch on the Nebula while I'm watching TI4 tournament games this year. I'm rooting and cheering for whoever my favorites are. All right, this next knitting work in progress is a really big one as well. So this is a new start since my last video. And I am knitting a dress. It's a Leona dress. This is a free pattern on Ravelry that is in Norwegian, but I just use Google Translate to translate it into English. And what I'm using to knit this dress is the mini skeins from the Vista Fade Advent Calendar that I got from Hugh Loco. And so, you know, through my Vlogmas videos in December, each day I opened a new one of these little mini skeins. And I hadn't decided right away what I was going to knit with them, but I knew that I was going to be cross-stitching a lot, and so that I wasn't planning to knit them during December. But on Christmas Day, I cast on this dress. It's knit from the bottom up, and you can see that I've got quite a bit of it done because it's extremely addictive. So here's what it looks like. I'm going to take some video footage so you can see better what it looks like. The pattern actually calls for it to be flipped purl side out once you're done. So I might try and give you a shot of what both sort of sides of the fabric look like. But either way, I'm hoping it'll be sort of reversible, but either way, it's looking amazing. I love the way that these colors are fading into one another. So the pattern itself does have this sort of fading nature to it. So there is a sort of repeat to get that fade to happen, but the repeat is written for fading between only 7 different colors across the length of the whole dress, and I am fading between 25 different colors. So I had to figure out what my fade pattern is going to be. So this is fingering weight yarn that I am holding double to knit. So I've got each mini skein split into 2 little cakes. This looks a little bit messy right now. And so that's how I'm doing the fade. So the first row is sort of 2 of the same color. So knitting from 2 different mini skeins, mini skeins. And then I drop one of those strands and knit a row with 1 strand of that first color and a strand of the color that I'm fading into. And then we go back to 2 of the original color, and then so on and so forth until eventually I'm knitting with just 2 strands of the new color, and then we start over again. And so that is what is creating this beautiful fade. And the advent calendar itself is a fade, so it's already kind of designed to do this, but I feel like this sort of knitting 2 at a time and fading slowly is really like turning out awesome. I'm excited. Thought I'd give you a quick peek at my advent box so you can see I have put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 colors already of my 25. And I've got this sort of full skein to like finish off the rest of the dress. If I don't have enough in here, hopefully that will be enough to finish the dress. If not, we will figure that out when the time comes. So I've never knit a dress before. This is pretty exciting for me. Yeah, I'm really excited about the dress. I like the way it's looking, and I'm excited about knitting a new type of garment, and I'm excited about the end garment. Like, I think it will be a really great sort of summer dress because it's got sort of no/minimal little tiny sleeves, and it's sort of above the knee length. So it'll be great in the summer, but it's also something that I think I'll be able to wear in the winter. I'm thinking like a turtleneck underneath and maybe some leggings as well. And so really looking forward to that. And as you can see, it's coming along really quickly. So I've already started decreasing for the waist area. So there's like some decreases and then some increases. So yeah, I'll hopefully get back to that again really soon. But that is my Leona dress. And I love it. All right, so I think that is it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to leave me below, please feel free to do that. I love reading comments and responding to comments, so you're welcome. You're welcome to chat with me down there. If you like the video and you'd like to see more, feel free to subscribe. And yes, I'll see you in the next video, hopefully in about 2 weeks' time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.